for projects that came in front of the planning board that really didn't make sense for them to install sidewalks, for them to generate money and put that towards sidewalks in the village. And we've to date received through 2 projects about $70,000 in money specifically that can go towards sidewalks from different developers. And again, that was the Old York, the subdivision at the end of South Church Street, and also Quick Check. I met with Rebecca Lafarge and Elaine McClellan from the planning board a few months after that meeting and prior to tonight, kind of right in the middle there, because they were very interested in sidewalks. Rebecca specifically has been taking an interest in working to get Greenwich Ave kind of rehabbed and working with the state and all that and the county. But I know that Rebecca and Elaine have brought certain things to my attention. I figured before we get into this proposal tonight, I would just have Rebecca come kind of representing her and Elaine and just kind of talk to the board about what their thoughts were about where this money should be allocated. I know that I basically said to you guys, where do you think the best area this money should be allocated was, and I'll kind of turn it over to you and
sure.
You can put these guys out in our conversation.
Sure. I mean, obviously there are a number of areas that we're concerned about, but to start, as you mentioned, I am interested in cleaning up Greenwich Avenue. As you'll all agree, it needs a bit of work. So, and as you said, I am working, with the state DOT to try to get that resurfaced. Arduous task as it may be, we're working on it and chipping away. But as far as sidewalks are concerned, it's obviously a main artery, directly down to the village of Goshen, and it would serve as a great place for people, for us to allocate this money to clean it up, put the sidewalks there, and provide a safe place for people to walk in and out of the community. A lot of people do walk that stretch of road to get to the CVS, the gas stations over there. Excuse me, the gas stations that have Subway and things like that. So I believe it would be a great area to start with.
And I agreed with them when they brought this to me, based on the fact that out of all the places, there's a number of areas that really need sidewalks in the village, but this is one where you always see people walking in the street. Especially people walking on Greenwich, just, it's concerning. Because there are, it is dangerous, and especially winter with, ice and stuff. So that being said, I talked to Mike Nuzzles and Art Tully, and I said, well, how much would it really cost for us to pay, to put in a sidewalk there on Greenwich and connect the areas that are disconnected right now? And basically, Art said, well, we can do kind of a general idea of how much it would cost, but really the first step is what everyone has in front of them, the handout that I believe everyone got. Now, here's across. Yeah. Right here. Oh, yeah. And basically, the number one thing that we need to figure out is where it's public property in terms of village property in the right-of-way, state property in the state right-of-way, and private property. So that really the best way to find that out, the only way rather, is to do a survey. And like Kelly has prepared a proposal for us. Does everyone have this in front of them? Mm-hmm. So if you look, the right-of-way survey is $1,600. The topographic survey is $2,800. All this money would come out of the sidewalk fund, that money that's strictly allocated to sidewalks, so it's not going to come out of any of our general fund line items. It's not going to be anything that wasn't budgeted for. So this would really be the first step. There is a larger thing where I think potentially the project cost in total to the entire thing would be a little shy of $40,000. But really to get a concrete idea of that, we would need to do this stuff first. So this is really the first step. If we do want to move in that direction, would be to approve this right-of-way and topographic survey from Lincoln Fellows. So I'm not sure if any board members have any questions, comments on this.
I think it's a great idea.
Well, let's talk about the part where you said some of this is private property that people are supposed to maintain a sidewalk on their own, right?
Yes and no. If there is a sidewalk in place, then they're responsible for shoveling the snow, for example.
Okay.
Or if there's a sidewalk in place, let's say it was one of the bluestones and someone tripped there, the liability would be on them. But a lot of this area, it doesn't even have sidewalk that was ever installed. Okay. So people end up going from sidewalk, down a driveway, out to the road, up a driveway, so it's kind of discombobulated. So really, it's just the village never actually invested to begin with.
So this would be both sides of the street from High Street up, pretty much? Or
Just for one side.
of the
This
street?
proposal is one side.
So it'd be on the right side if you're leaving town?
Yeah, the high
Okay,
side, yep.
The high side, okay.
Yeah.
Or the sidewalk out to, where Planned Parenthood's still there, that red building on the
Well, it
right?
would be
It's
past
not
the
Planned Parenthood
hospital.
anymore, but yes, that's the
That's the
building.
last building.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there is one at the very end, the sidewalk kind of starts there, but there's a lot of areas where it
And
is.
so it's just under $40,000 basically to go from High Street all the way up to the intersection of Matthew Street or Gross close.
Potentially, yeah. It's just before they can even give us a definitive cost, they need to figure out basically.
Surveys and all that.
Yeah, because depending on what's in private right-of-ways and what's in the state right-of-way, it's going to determine who we get the approvals from, in terms of it's going to be New York State or homeowners. I mean, I don't think
How
that...
long would it take to get the approvals? I guess my question is more geared towards the fact that, if we got the money, let's spend it, let's get it done.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm just wondering, like, how long does something like that take in order to get it, to get whatever approvals we need, and then somebody out there start pouring concrete and...
Well, I would think concrete probably couldn't be poured until at least the spring, but that gives us several months in between to
Yeah.
work on the approval process. So that I don't think anyone's pouring concrete this time of year, correct?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to come down to if it's in a state right-of-way versus someone's private property, it's going to be different time tables. Because if it's, the state needs to sign off on certain areas, that needs to go through their DOT bureaucracy, whereas if it's in front of someone's office, and just because I know he has a building there, like Steve Esposito's, he's not going to give the village a hard time. They'll say do it tomorrow. Because he's mentioned this, would be a good thing of the past.
Right.
But really, the survey will help us to distinguish between which is which.
Excuse me.
Roy, just to bring up to speed, we're talking about installing a sidewalk on Greenwich Avenue with the money that we were given from Quick Check and Old York for the sidewalk fund. So this would be to install a sidewalk on the high side of Greenwich.
Okay.
Where they're, right now, I was mentioning the board, and Rebecca's here representing the planning board. A lot of times you see people walking on the road there because there's not a sidewalk. There's bits and pieces, but you end up people walking on a sidewalk, going down a driveway in the road, going back up.
Yep.
So this, to really get a final cost estimate, this right-of-way survey and topographic survey is the starting point to that. And this would come solely out of the sidewalk fund and not out of the general fund.
The only other question is, and again, I don't know, obviously we'll have to see where the placement of the sidewalk would be, but if we were going to let the road directly, would it make any difference if we do it before potential paving or after? I don't know the answer to that kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know the answer either.
Question probably for Art and all them.
And to be honest, I don't know if that side of the road, you'll be kind of abutting the road anyway.
Okay, yeah,
It's actually quite a bit of
If it's gonna
property.
be set in, 5, 6 feet, then irrelevant.
Yeah.
My question is only if it's gonna abut the road and then.
And I've also, as I mentioned, when in touch with DOT, it's not going to happen until at least 2014, if it happens.
Yeah, I know.
2013 has already been scheduled, so.
Yeah, I mean, if you drive past, you'll see like the roads here, you kind of have like a little hill, and then the sidewalk will be up here.
Okay.
So it's not like it would be...
Well, that was gonna be my next thing.
Right.
I didn't think the LP would be paving tomorrow, so.
Unfortunately.
But, the other thing that comes to my mind is when you talk about the dollar amount where the fund has about approximately $70,000 we said in there. And then if we're just doing a rough draft, not that it's supposed to be accurate or anything, that strip from there up to there costs, say, roughly just under $40,000. Somehow along the line, I just kind of feel like we might have gotten a little taken on that from the two places that donated the money. I mean, because if you went to that development and ran sidewalks through there, you gotta talk to them. If that up there, and you're talking about resetting some sidewalks versus pouring new sidewalks, would have to cost $90,000 or $100,000, and Quick Check to put in sidewalks around there would have to cost a fortune.
Well, part of this, and I'm not saying yes or no to that.
I mean, I'm saying anything is better than nothing, but they might have got let off the hook, and my only feeling to that is just if we, take chump change now and somebody else is doing something later, we're still, then we got our hand out looking for the sidewalk fund, we're destined enough of a chump change.
Right, I think that what we got from them was fair. The difference why this seems so expensive is because it's a long run, but it's actually, if we were to do this job, we have to make certain slopes handicap accessible, and some of them, the way they are now, are not so. So there's certain grading that needs to be put in, and that dramatically increases the cost. That's the way it was explained to me by Art. Next time we talk about this, I'll come here and kind of give a little more background. But that was my explanation as to why it was a little more significant than I thought it would be, because of that grading. Because there's literally, like slopes and then flat and then up again. So it had to be a little smoothed out in terms of, digging some stuff out here, laying some more there. But it's a valid point though. When we do talk about that, I'll get all of Art here to explain why. Because I know he was the one that kind of put the pressure on those two developers to give us more than they had put in, and there was kind of negotiation that took place.
But he felt like even if it would be, because it would have to be, for them to do it, it would have to be cost effective to them.
Correct.
So even if they said like, let's say we'll give you 75% of it or whatever have you, if, and I understand the slopes and all of that other stuff and everything, but, it just seems to me like you're talking probably like $180,000 worth of sidewalks that we're foregoing, and for $70,000 bucks. So I don't even think they're probably at the half the value of what these people would have paid to do it. And I'm just shooting for
none of us are professionals, so we can all throw numbers out and guess.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of thought there. Anyone else have anything on this?
Actually, I have the other question, and put Rebecca on the spot, is so that leaves us 30. What are their top priority areas are you thinking about?
What was discussed, there were a few other areas surrounding the schools, but we're also looking to safe routes to schools for some funding with that as well. So there, and listen, we'll take ideas.
Okay. No, I was just curious.
Well, one place, obviously, one place that could really use it, and that idea is, to come down from the school, there's the park along Middle Street there, going down to the county building.
Sure.
Now, it's difficult there because there's shale there and everything, but the side, I know because I go out running, or I used to go out running a lot, and there's nowhere there, really, I don't know if there's somewhere to put it, but it ends after you get past the tennis courts and then it doesn't start up again until you get down to the county building. That might be an area that would be helpful, because I know there are people that work in the county building that I see walking to work. You gotta walk out on the road, so.
Unfortunately, there are a lot of areas that need sidewalks, or at least need help with sidewalks.
Sure.
So, I guess it's a matter of just really everybody kind of brainstorming and figuring out what's best and what's gonna be the most, will get our kind of bang for our buck, essentially. And again, around the schools, we are looking for other funding, so.
Yeah, just to piggyback, because there's Safe Routes to Schools grant, they administer that basically every year.
Right, sure.
So we don't want to allocate our money towards something that's so it's kind of a balancing act in terms of, do we want to just get it done and invest our money, or do we want to hold off and...
Well, it's funny because I live in one of the developments. There's a couple, at least one other I think of, but the planners in those days, in their wisdom, I lived in Spring Glen, they didn't put any sidewalks in there. Still Acres is another one, there's no sidewalks in there. Still Acres maybe isn't as big a deal, but I mean, my neighborhood, kids are walking to school, there's no sidewalks anymore.
Sure.
Well, the only benefit in your neighborhood, the only benefit there, with no sidewalks, is the street is fairly wider than most of your average streets.
Gregory Drive, up by the bus garage.
Yeah.
So, if there's no other questions, is someone in favor of making a motion to accept this proposal?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion on this? Okay, Rebecca, if you could just relay this stuff to the planning board at the next meeting. I think you guys meet tomorrow night?
Yep.
Okay. All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, does anyone have anything else they'd like to add to the agenda?
I just have one little thing. It's really in Rory's building here, but you remember the joint session we had with the town a few months ago, and most of that was focused on Sleet and more on the building and everything. And I mentioned a couple of people here that periodically Mike calls me up. Fortunately, this happened. He called me up the other day and said, "You got some time next week?" Well, it just so happens I've that time I've got to use or lose, so I'm on vacation all week. So I sat down with him for a couple hours this morning. And I've been meaning to ask him about this. You remember that Kevin and Ray Rooney were there, and they were talking about how crowded the park is out there, Mr. Urbanski's Goshen Town Park. And I don't have young kids anymore, but what a difficult situation it is out there. And they were, I don't know how the town board is going to feel about this, but they were looking, the easiest thing obviously is to take the youngest kids, like the T-ball, or the youngest football players, or the youngest baseball players, and the youngest soccer players, because those fields don't have to be anywhere near as, professional or whatever. And I ran up by Mike this morning, and he said, well, you remember, which I didn't, I've forgotten, there used to be a baseball field actually on Goshen when I was a kid growing up. I said, yeah, there's a backstop there and everything. So he said, yeah, there's
a curiosity. Right in that middle part where, there used to be a pavilion and a backstop and everything.
Okay. Well, the thing is, to him, he said, for, a couple ball fields like that, for a soccer field or, a little baseball field or something like that, we're not talking about, I understand, the number 1A soccer fields out there, or the biggest baseball field probably have drainage and all kinds of stuff like that, but just whack out a few really basic fields to take some of the pressure off the other place really would not be that difficult, and nobody's really pursued it.
I mean, they did pursue it. The problem with it is, as we know, the library owns the property next door.
Right.
The library's property cuts almost halfway into that circle.
All right, but in principle, if there were...
No, in principle, that circle's great for like T-ball,
if there were property on the property that we own where they would be able to
I'm just talking about the circle that you guys are talking about where the old field was back in the day.
And it wasn't going to cost a lot of money. I don't see why we couldn't do it.
Especially for a temporary small thing that wouldn't involve a lot of investment.
I agree with you. The little kids use field yay big, I mean, it's easy, but part of the problem is the library owns about half of that circle, give or take, as part of their property.
So if you want to just convey to joint rec that it seems like the village board is receptive to stuff like that.
Ultimately, they want to use as much of that land as they can use in park form, and they're trying to find ways, as you know, with other ideas of trying to utilize the property. So I'm sure they'd be open to trying to figure something out with it.
And with all stuff aside, over at Craigville, when soccer season starts, all that, the place is packed. It is
revisit using that piece of property.
And then what happens is when they have like a game that's rained out, they got to make up games. It just creates like havoc because you got, it's every field is used and then some throughout the whole time. Between soccer and baseball, softball, girls softball, all that stuff and everything. And so you had some less, some fields that don't have to be, picture perfect for T-ball and stuff like that, or for the young soccer field that some of the young kids, like, the 5 to 8 range or something to play on. It probably would take some pressure off of that and could be done fairly economically.
I'm not familiar with whether we still use the fields up top at Scotchtown?
They are not owned by the village, that's owned by the school.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're
talking
about...
I'm saying that's where Little League, I don't know if it was a part, I don't know what it was back in the day, but we used to play up on the 2 fields up top on Scotchtown, even that back one.
It's owned by the school district. I think they let lacrosse use it. I know.
No, they have soccer. They play soccer up on that field. The travel soccer teams play there. The different travel soccer teams from the Goshen, plus some other teams, like regular rec soccer games are played up there.
I forgot that because I was directing traffic when we had the fire parade. They were judging the vehicles in that circle there, and all these people came in for soccer, and we told them they go park and
go back and down the hill.
We don't administer it, but I guess it is used up. So.
And they use the ball field that's right there below on the circle at the Hooker School. Yeah. And they use that soccer field there as well.
And Erie Street is used by football.
And Erie Street is used by football. I mean, there's nothing that's not, well utilized.
I mean, ultimately, not to unearth this right now, but I'm going to, but it doesn't need to be discussed. There's that piece over by, past, Craigville Park that's just been sitting there for years and was visited at one point, you know, that abuts, where the Levines used to live, you make a right-hand turn before you get to Hasbrook.
Is that property that was gifted to the town through a development?
It was part of the original grant of Land of Goshen, the town park, the Craigville Park. And I know that the plan's been drawn up on it, and it was discussed 4 or 5 years ago before I came back here, I don't really know, but it's a pretty sizable chunk of property that's owned by a joint rec, just sitting there.
Okay.
So, I mean...
I don't know a lot about that, to be honest. So, I'd be curious to learn more.
Yeah.
But it's
owned
by joint rec?
Owned by the town, that's what it technically meant. Yeah, I mean, I guess, however, Craigville Park ownership is set up. I mean, you'll know this piece of land if I brought you out there. It's like just a barren piece of land by, the name, I'll remember right when we walk out of here. But,
Knoll Road?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's right up in Knoll Road.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know, okay.
And it basically could fit a pretty nice soccer field and things like that, but just food for thought, maybe chat about it with Trish or something.
Sure.
Anyway, I'll bring that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we're receptive, you know, I think speaking just...
Oh, we're discussing that. I just wanted to let you know the problem that occurred.
Right.
Do you think, I'll ask, I don't know if it's a dumb question, but do you think since the property's not being used and, do you think they would have...
You'd have to ask Trish. I can't remember now if they approached, I know the question we're going to ask, if they approached the library about using it. I cannot remember if they had or hadn't, and if they had, what the response was.
Okay. Yeah, I never knew the cutout of where...
Yeah, some of that, it's like, somewhere between 1/4 and 1/2 of the circle is actually in that library lot.
Okay. I'll have to look at that.
Yeah, I think, I'm not speaking out of turn, in the past 4 years since we've been on the board together, the village has always been receptive to utilizing solutions.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, yeah, that was the one problem.
I don't think we've talked about it since you've been on the board, Peter, you worry, but I know that was something that, Mayor Higgins had run on, saying, bring sports there.
Yeah, because, going back historically, when the town and the village brought that together, there was this strong group of people that wanted it to be a passive park. And John, having a history in joint rec, was always against that. But there was this whole idea they were going to have a poet's walk and all this kind of stuff.
The challenge obviously becomes, which is what we're dealing with there, is there's a liability just sitting right there at all times. So, when you bring people towards a nuisance and a liability, you gotta be conscious of that. I think that's in the back of everybody's head when you're bringing people there.
Well, there's also a safety concern in that the egress and ingress into that whole lot in general is not very good. It's a one-way street through the easement that the library provided us, or license. Don't ask me which word it is, because no one was ever very clear about what it is. So that was always also a concern in general.
All right.
Now, these hurdles can't be overcome, but these are the hurdles that have been thrown around in the past as part of the problems.
I think it's one of those things where it's just, there's a lot of moving pieces, but if you just get everyone to the table, it shouldn't be that hard to implement and work it out.
Okay.
I don't think the library would be opposed to signing, a 3-year agreement or whatever it is, saying, yes, we own this, but you can utilize this until we get, a buyer or whatever. But I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be doable. The only thing, as Edmund mentioned, was the entrance, being one in, one out, and there is limited parking there, but there's solutions to many problems.
Okay. I will propose.
All right, anyone else have anything for tonight? All right, then I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, thanks everybody. Thank you, Ms. LaFarge.
You're very welcome. It's freezing in here.
Try working here.
Good.
That's how you get the meetings moving quick,
Yes, so.
That's how you get the jury to come to a resolution quickly. You can turn off the coffee and turn off the heat or turn down the heat.